everybody, it's Dr. Mary Gardner with Lap of Love, and for this Facebook Live, I wanted to talk about when you're not able to be present, when it comes time to say goodbye to your loved one, to your pet. And this happens a couple of different reasons why. First is, you might be out of town, or for some reason you're not able to be present. Either you're at work, or like I said, you're out of town on vacation or something like that. So you physically cannot be present, or you're away at school if you're a student. The second reason why you might not be able to be present is, and right now is a very good example, is during COVID. There's many veterinary clinics that are reducing the amount of people that could be present in a hospital, or not present at all. And the third reason why you may not be able to be present is simply because you can't imagine emotionally being present there, right? And you might think that it's not something that you can handle. And so I just want to touch on all of these and see if I can help you, because I've helped families through all of these. So first off, if you're out of town and you can't be present, and so this happens more than people realize, and I think this is why sometimes people maybe wait for a euthanasia, particularly around the holidays, where they want to wait for the rest of the family to be present, or for somebody coming in from out of town. And sometimes we can actually, I'm back, do more harm than good in this situation. And if a pet is not well and their quality of life is really poor, then we certainly don't want to put stress on them for them to wait for us to be present. So if your pet cannot wait to be for other family members to be present, then it's best. I'm gonna move my camera so I get better connection, because I keep disconnecting. So anyway, this has happened to me myself and to other family members. So if you can't be present, then you can also still FaceTime or Skype in, sort of like we're doing now, right? So we can still be present, at least visually. And so if you've got the situation where you can't be present, then ask your other family members or your veterinarian if you could Skype or FaceTime. And I have done that plenty of times where it's not best for the pet to wait, and we do that. So what is an interesting fact is that pets can still hear, and even sometimes when they're highly sedated, hearing is the last sense to go. And so if you're able to FaceTime or be on a video, you can still talk to your pet and say goodbye. And so I've been doing that for years, and we'll post a picture of some families that I've helped that way. Also, me myself, I had to do this with my own cat. So about 2.5 years ago, I was traveling for work, and I was in Texas, and there was no way that I could get home to say goodbye to my own little kitty cat named Lilu. She had acute kidney failure, and it was not good if she continued to wait for me, and it was just, I'd be home in like 15 hours, but it was not best for her. And so I had to have some other veterinarian come and deliver the angel wings, and that's important to me. As a veterinarian, I like to bring my own angel wings, so I had to ask another colleague to come and do that, and I FaceTimed. And so I have a picture of me doing that, and in the picture that we'll post, you'll just see a little half of my head, because I was crying a lot. And so so sometimes that could be of comfort if you can't be present, is just to at least be present a little visually. Now, let's talk a little bit about COVID and what's happening where you can't be present because the clinic has got some restrictions. And I understand why clinics are doing this. This is a very interesting time that we're in, and we want to have health for everybody and safety for everybody. So if a clinic is restricting you from being present, first off, ask if they're willing to come to your house at a later time. Of course, if you're in an area where Lap of Love, where we service, will come to your home still, but maybe your clinic can provide that option as well, and so they might be comfortable doing that. Second, ask if it could be done outside. Now, I know some of you live in snowy areas or rainy areas. It's going to rain here tomorrow all day in South Florida, but maybe they have a nice area where you can be outside and be present with your pet. The other option, and not all veterinarians and technicians are comfortable with this, but at least give them this option, is maybe they'll come to your car and say goodbye in your car. And so, so that is something that me as a lap love veterinarian, I've done, because there are sometimes where dogs like their car, and so I've actually said goodbye in a car for a few family members, also on a boat. So maybe the technician and the veterinarian can come out to the car, especially if you're planning to take your pet with you for burial or for cremation. So if you can't be present at the clinic, maybe you can ask them if they will Skype. So if there's a clinic where they are letting nobody in, ask them if you can Skype. Now, again, this a lot of times is for us, and we have to ask that question: is this for us or for them? And if you think about a euthanasia in the animal world, well, actually, if somebody dies in the human world, so if a human dies, we have a funeral afterwards, right? So a week later, let's say, we all can get together and celebrate their life. And so we have a funeral, and that's when we usually say our goodbyes, because we're not usually present for a person to pass. Now, of course, if hospice or some other situations, they are. But if we're not, we have a funeral. So in veterinary medicine, the euthanasia kind of acts as both, right? So it's the death process, but also the funeral process. So if you can't be present for the actual euthanasia, you can still kind of have a funeral. So ask the clinic if you can make arrangements with the crematory, because many crematories, and here in South Florida, we own the crematory, so we know that we can provide a viewing. And so some families will actually set up a time where they can at least kind of say their goodbyes to their pet, or have a little celebration ceremony with their pet present, even though they may have passed already. So I know this is not ideal for everybody, and what we're going through right now is not ideal on many levels, right? But if that's an option that can help you with closure, then absolutely ask your clinic if that's something that, can you take the pet to a crematory, or can we make arrangements for a few days after the euthanasia for you to be present for that? So just something to think about and ask. And now also about asking your veterinarian if you feel that you can't be present, you can also ask your veterinarian if there's some mild sedative to give the pet before you hand them off, because I think that may be where the struggle is handing off your pet to somebody else and they're still fully awake. And so maybe if you give them a little bit of mild sedation beforehand and they're sleepy, that may bring you some comfort, right? It may relax them a little bit. The other thing is that dogs and cats have a phenomenal sense of smell, and I've done many Facebook Lives on this, right? So absolutely send something, if the clinic will take it, that smells like you, right? So even if it's a scarf that you just wrap around their neck or something like that, and a lot of clinics are handing back leashes and things like that, but maybe a little scarf that you can put on them. So all these little things just kind of help you and your pet. Another big important, I have some notes down here so I don't forget some important things, is to say I love you. So even if you can't be present, saying I love you does help, right? Because I think that's the one thing that we all regret, is that even if it's a person or a pet, that we didn't say I love you enough. And so definitely get in as many love yous as you can. I already talked about viewing at the crematory, and we're all different on how we view bodies afterwards, right? And there is, by the way, no right or wrong answer to this. And I think that option of viewing for cremation before the cremation happens is not for everybody, and that's totally fine. But for some people, it might help them. So I'm going to tell you a little story. I mentioned how I was not present for my kitty cat Lilu, and I came home the next day after she had passed, and I was not ready to have her cremated for about 3 weeks. Now I know some of you are like, what? That's a little, loopy, Mary. But it was something where I was not ready to let her go, especially because I was not present for that. And I just want to tell you guys this, that it happens to all of us, these different emotions. And so don't think that you're, weird, let's say, if you want to have that time left. So just know that these are options, but you just have to communicate with your crematory so that way they don't do the cremation until you're ready. So I just wanted to put it out there because that's what I went through, and it was very interesting for me after I've helped so many wonderful families, that when it happened to me, the emotional part for me and how it's so different. Now the last point is if you emotionally can't be present. And so I talked about if you physically can't, but now about emotionally can't. And that's okay too. You know, I've seen some articles out there where they say, you know, that it's not good if you can't be present. And I've seen on some Facebook groups some other families maybe telling another person like, hey, that's not right if you're not present for your pet's euthanasia. And that's you know, just throwing a little bit of guilt out there. And by the way, not everybody can, and that's okay too. And there are many times where I've gone to homes and the family just cannot handle the act of euthanasia, right? So I'm reading some of these comments. They're wonderful. So 2 things. One is I always tell families that you may want to be present at least just for the sedation. And the sedation is, you know, just really a feel-good medication where they just start to get a little bit calm and comfortable. And sometimes just seeing them sleeping before they pass is a big comfort to you. So I suggest, if they can handle it, to see that. If not, that's okay. And so I had my sister actually said goodbye to her Labrador a couple of years ago, and she's like, Mary, I can't be present. She's like, nope. She wanted to stay at work, which is totally fine. She's like, I need to be focusing. The emotional toll on her would be a lot. So she said, I know Click's in good hands. And so I, you know, gave her some love for her. But I just appreciate so many different emotions that people go through. And what's best for you and your family is what is best. So don't feel guilty if you feel like you can't be present. Just, you know, place your loved one in good hands and know that they're going to be treated well and with dignity and care. And so that hopefully will bring you some comfort. So again, I started out with this, but I really do want to kind of end with this, is that what's best for the pet should really come first. So if your pet is, let's say, in an emergency clinic or having emergency surgery, and you can't be present, and the veterinarian suggests to end suffering. So if your pet is actively suffering, then do what's best for them and say goodbye. But trust me, know that this comes from a place of understanding because of my Lilu. And I knew she could not wait 15 hours for me. And so the best gift I could give her was the angel wings, even if not delivered by me. So I just wanted to kind of end with that. And hopefully this was some, hopefully this was of some, I'm interested, these comments are wonderful, so I'm getting a little distracted because they're great. So everybody should read the comments after this. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful, and it brings you some comfort, especially during these times if you can't be present. But anyway, that's it. So until next time, take care and love up on your little ones. Bye-bye.